Hello there, and welcome to another Gamergate Ultras podcast. I've got tonight with me in the studio Cal Thomas, who's going to talk to us about the subject of where Gamergate could go in terms of leadership and governance and how we could run ourselves and become more organised. Also got Jesus Alvarez with me, Robert Stoll, who I'm sure you'll know, and Shannon Myers. So I'm just going to let Cal lead off and tell us about his ideas.
Alright, so first I just want to point out in here that everything that I say is not set to stone or anything like this. It's just very basic ideas and a way that I personally feel like we are lacking and where we could be improving. And the whole reason of pointing this out here and putting it out to other people is to get an input and get basically other points of view and other people's opinions on the subject and be able to work towards it. So to kick things off, basically, we were discussing offline here just a minute ago the points of having a centralized group, which many of us disagree with, and I would be a liar if I said I 100% disagree with. I think a centralized group or a hierarchy, if you say, is something that is necessary to any kind of political movement, and trying to deny that Gamergate is a political movement or not, kind of at this point, is, at least in my opinion, a bit disingenuous. We have kind of shifted towards that because our opposition is fighting a political war on us, and basically, if we don't fight the same war, we're never gonna win, if you know what I mean. I don't know if I'm making much sense in that. If anyone has been able to follow, just stop and ask me to elaborate a bit if you want. So basically, we were going on about things like what happened with Internet Aristocrat, King of Pole, and the points that Zen touched on the stream last night as well, that it's not working anymore. This whole point of us just attacking and sending emails and things like this to advertisers, it has worked in the past, and it worked up until, like, I would say, if you push it, until November last year, and since then it has just been dying out, and basically the advertisers just became a little bit, just grew a little bit of thick skin towards us. They see about 100 emails, 200 emails a day on their inbox, and they're just like, oh, it's those people again. It's just like, yeah, whatever, like, just go straight to trash, just like LinkedIn emails, you know. And I personally feel like we need to do some more. We need to actually be taking it to the next level, you know, like they took it to the next level, and I think it's time for us to fight the same thing. And one way to do that would be to actually being able to organize our efforts and organize funds, if you will, even towards a goal. And now I'm not saying what the goal would be or how to centralize this specifically, but one of my early ideas that I was discussing with Ian yesterday as well was something along the lines of like a rotational council, like the UN has, kind of thing. I'm not saying the UN works 100%, but it's the most democratic way that we could do this. And before, in like one of the things that we the main thing that we fight against is corruption, and one of the things that happened with the is that we are being burnt out whenever money is coming out, and people are shilling back and forth just trying to make a buck out of it all the time. I just feel this is wrong, and this is not the way it is, but at the same time, without the cash to actually be doing more, like counter-propaganda things, you know, like as soon as they put a propaganda saying that we are this and that and blah, 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 we've been doing this and that. Yeah, basically advertising. It's one of the things, thank you. And other points is like something I think, I'm not sure if it was Paul or the Internet Aristocrat that mentioned it on one of their videos, is we need to go for the juggler. We actually need to be looking at we need to be attacking them. Privately, like hire something like a private investigator, check where the money trail is leading, because all these conventions and media and everything else, money is exchanging hands in there. We already uncovered this. We just need to find the concrete evidence that we can bring to court, and just pointing it out to the people and to the media is not working either. We need to actually, if the government is not willing, if there is not something governing their ethics, we need to be able to sue them ourselves. And this is pretty much my idea, at least, is just bring them out, centralize things, make a fund of some sort for legal purposes, and we sue them ourselves.
Wow.
And
Something I'm wondering is, like, Gamergate has been known to throw in money before, mostly towards charities, like, you know, the disabled gamers, stuff like that. We're willing to throw money at that. But do you think most Gamergaters will be comfortable throwing money at something like that, basically, is what I'm wondering.
that's the thing. Personally, I don't think most of us will. I think that's the beauty of Gamergate itself, is people are coming from such different backgrounds and so many different opinions that, of course, we're going to have a lot of people that are going to say, oh, no, this is wrong. We're going to have other people that say, yes, just go for the jugular. Let's sue those cunts. Let's find out all the dirt that we can find on them. And as much as they smear in us, let's smear them right back and things like that. And personally, at least to an extent, putting something like that, if you're going to be throwing money somewhere, that money has to be, someone has to be signing off the check. And this is where, at least to me, the problem comes from the perspective of what I'm seeing is I wouldn't be comfortable throwing my money to someone specifically, you know,
So
to
Amy,
any one person, and because that person could just as easily be, with a little bit of time or even not a little bit of time, become corrupt and just run away with the money.
so are you thinking of like a non-profit organization? Like, is that what you're thinking, more or less?
I'm thinking something along the lines. I'm thinking gaming doesn't have a governing body that dictates like what is and what isn't shady kind of thing. Just like other media has, like mainstream media has something that dictates what's ethical and what is unethical, and we don't. And I think it's past the time that something like this is started, and who better to stop those kind of things than the people that are actually pissed off at it,
Yeah.
you know?
So like a consumer, like ethics, fact check kind of organization, then, right?
Yeah, to an extent, yes. And then that organization itself would be able to be, like, bringing legal repercussions to whatever infractions we see, because it doesn't matter if there is no governing body or anything like this. I don't know what the laws are specifically myself, but at least in the UK here, if you are colluding, it doesn't matter if your industry has those kind of things or not. If it's against, sorry, what is the word exactly that I'm looking for? I completely missed it. It's competition laws and things like this. I forgot the specific word, but you know where I'm going with it. Like, as soon as you start, yeah, something along those lines. I'm not sure if that's the specific word either, but that is against the law itself. And in here, at least, that is something that can be done. But because most of those companies are running off of America, we, at least in here, we cannot do much to them. You know,
true.
and that is.
In America, at least,
Oh
the
my god,
anti.
an awful lot of echo.
Stop the echo.
I don't know how. I don't know why we're having it, to be honest. Has someone got a YouTube open?
I got YouTube open, but the sound is turned off in there.
Oh, mine's down too.
Is someone using like a laptop mic or something like that?
I'm using mine, but mine has a sound barrier on it. So.
Yeah, his sounds fine. Rather
Mine's muted, and I have headphones on, so...
That's really odd. I mean, you get this sometimes. I have no idea what to do about it.
It looks like it's coming from Cow.
Yeah, I'm starting to think it's coming from me as well. Let me just see if I can do something about it. But
Can you do push to talk?
I've actually never used Google Hangouts before, so let me see if I can.
It's the well.
Oh, that's embarrassing.
But well, anyways, sort of what I was going for. In the United States, there is antitrust laws. However, the antitrust laws are mainly about like manufacturing businesses and that sort of thing. Not about things like journalism. So that could be an issue. But there are things such as slander and and laws where you can't specifically, you can lie in advertising, but you can't make up horrendous things that destroy people's reputations. And I think that's where we can go for it. And I don't think we need like centralized leadership to do that. What we need is something like an 8chan operation without sort of the difficulties that anonymity and this sort of thing brings with 8chan.
I mean, a lot of times I look at things like our group functions on Facebook, and I think we've got a little thing here where we can ask questions and people can vote and put in answers. They would be so good for governance and this kind of thing. You've got space for real discussions that don't immediately get leapt into and dogpiled and are totally public and that kind of thing. There's all sorts of opportunities everywhere to set up a decent board for discussions, but it's getting people there, getting them taking part, and then you've got to work out your system of governance and specifically a constitution that's going to prevent you getting co-opted, prevent you getting swamped in tyrants and competing e-celebrities all looking for a different influence. I mean, it's got to have a real representative nature right from the grassroots up through Gamergate. It is how I feel overall about the whole general subject. I mean, naturally, I come from a position of I don't like the idea anyway of leadership and councils and governance, but
the more safeguards and the bigger the representation gets, the slower things in general gets. Like the decisions will come slower and things like that. Basically, the more people that get involved in that.
Yeah, that is a problem.
It should be. It really should. What it should be is skill based. Is volunteers, and if there's an issue with any specific project, like we've been able to do, and like I don't think that in the cases that we haven't been able to do, that problems have arisen, that people should see the transparent workings of the project, and then object the immediate time when the project goes south.
I mean, skill base is great and all, but still, anytime someone's in power for like an indefinite time, though, there's always a chance of corruption. I mean, it doesn't matter how holy or how perfect of a human being you are. There's always that temptation, and sometimes you don't even notice when it's happening. You're just thinking what's best.
Well, that's going to happen regardless if we decide to make a representational governance.
People are going to magnetize to any leader, and you're going to see every ego battle imaginable happen. I mean,
which is the problem.
You see, that's something that we were discussing yesterday as well, and this is the main reason why I have not actually put this to paper or presented this to anyone else before today, and the reason actually I'm presenting this to you guys today, so I could get your input on it. However, with this whole point of like, it can become corrupt, or it can become an ego problem, and this and that, or what I was more thinking about, it was more like bringing groups together of some sort. So the council, if you will, would be more of a like, you get the ultras group in here and you get one representative from there for about like a month, and then you get a representative from Kotaku in action for about a month, and they all sit together and they discuss with their groups, like each representative discuss with their groups what they think the focus should be and how they're going to achieve this, and they can also gather different skills from different people that are willing to put the time into it from their groups and create a matrix of some sort, so we could actually be drawing the skills and the people that we need when we need them for each different thing. For instance, if we have a lawyer on group or something like this, you know.
How much power, however, would that council get? Would they be able to say, let's say someone from outside the council disagrees with what the council's doing and decides to go do their own operation? How much power would, say, the council have to stop that operation?
That's a good point.
Yeah, you see, that's one of the things that I haven't really got an answer for right out of the get-go. But at least my idea, and anything that I say here is not like I said before, is not set to stone or anything like this, because what we need is a consensus of things that most people agree with. And in my personal idea and my perfect, beautiful scenario in my head, at least, the way it would work is everything that would be voted by the council would be first be passing a vote to each individual group, or on a website itself there would be a poll in there where the community at large would be voting against something or in favor of something, or just giving suggestions, just much more like a democratic society does, well, it's supposed to do to begin with, where each constituent and each council, like let's say London for instance has their council and they bring forward a bill, and then the council in Wales will have a different one and they will vote as well on what's going to happen in Britain. And that would be pretty much where I see these kind of things going, and becoming more of a democratic society. And to stop the corruption would be something along the lines with each individual that is elected to go towards it would first to be elected to be put in there, they would agree themselves to be put to scrutiny, to be going through investigation. So we would investigate their past and what sort of things they do and dig up all dirt that we can on them, and they would agree to it first. So we don't end up getting someone that is shady or dodgy, or someone that is going to be trying to divert us, or some sort of moral, something like that, you know.
Consensus is an idea, and so is idealistic mindsets. Those both can go extremely bad extremely quickly, especially if you get something like, I don't know, the current U.S. Political state, where you have about half the population saying one thing, half the population saying another. In Gamergate, that could be even worse with the amount of diverse opinions. And with idealism, you don't get security with idealism, because the minute something goes wrong, you don't have a plan for how to solve that issue. That's why a thought process that thinks through mechanisms to cull certain behaviors that could halt progress is a far more sustainable mindset to even approach the discussion with, in my opinion.
Well, what I'm thinking about this is, it would be great to have like a group of people from all these different areas kind of like discussing and meshing ideas, but it's kind of hard for something like that to exercise any real power. We can help mold what people think about certain actions or what individuals are doing, but we can't go in and tell somebody not to do this or not to do that, because there's no way we can like police that or exercise that kind of power. So I think as a discussion between like the Facebook, the Twitter, like the different mediums, it's a really good idea, but we can't really exercise very much power with something like that.
I mean, I think personally, from what I see the way this is going, is I think it would be great to have it like there's a general movement from Gamergate in total that's a consensus, but everyone still does their own thing. But that's like a one set goal we go through. But then there's also, if we're gonna do those kind of things, especially like investigative reporting or let's say a legal matter or something, there's gonna be money involved. Now that's where it gets a little bit tricky. So we're, it pretty much ends up sounding like an organization. And that's fine to have all these different groups have a say in it. I think that's idealistically an amazing idea. But like someone just brought up, there's always a chance of like having such extreme. How do we decide the money's going to work through? Like, where do we decide the money goes into what exactly does? I think there is a solution for that. It's going to take like hammering down left and right on the paper, trying to figure out what it is.
Yeah.
That's why I think that individual operations is the way to go.
Perhaps so. Perhaps so. I mean, it's always worked for us in the past in that it's given us a unique tactical style in that 1 minute we can be a thrashing mass of tentacles bashing at the enemy and probing around for weaknesses. And when we do find a weakness, then we turn into one massive tentacle and like bash our way into it. And that's been quite good, and they haven't really worked out how to fight that ever. I don't think there is a successful way to fight stuff like that. So,
which is what makes like a discussion group such a good place to like have, because then with a discussion area we could like hammer down these things faster and get these ideas through faster, but we can't really have a way to police things is what we're getting at basically. And like for there to be power in such an organization, it would have to be able to police things, but it's completely impossible to do that because we can't keep people from doing things or tell people to do things and have them do it without agreeing with us.
Yeah,
So,
I don't think the whole policing things would really be something that I even had in mind to begin with when I first thought about this. It was more of a sense as like I think using the word councils and things like this is just bringing more of a traditional vision to it than what I was trying to present. It was more of a way of centralizing ideas and discussing
a
between
network,
different
really.
regions.
Not centralization, really.
Yeah,
Decentralized network.
It is
of
to an
thinking.
extent,
Yeah,
but at the
yeah.
same time, you have to be able to centralize, like, or efforts at the same time, or like your personnel, if you will. For instance, like if you have a private investigator or a competition researcher, or if you have a lawyer and stuff like this, you want to know where those people are in the group and when they can be available to do something for the goal,
Yeah.
that we have to completely destroy the opposition. Because make no mistakes, my personal goal is to completely destroy them. I don't want to see anything happening to them anymore. I think it's just burn it to the ground and start anew. But every other person has a different opinion on it, and that's exactly why I don't want to be doing this on my own, or even proposing something like this on my own. Because I think I'm way too radical sometimes on the things that I propose and the things that I say and do. So I'd rather bring other people into it,
Well, we are the radicals.
That's why the
really, aren't we?
discussion is so important.
Yeah.
Discussion is great. Discussion groups especially are are going to be the lifeblood of whatever we do, and that's what even Twitter I think tries to be and fails to be. And it's just the matter of getting actions to work, or words to actions is the issue that pops up, and it's easy to talk a good game, but even like forming something like a government, or like some sort of structure, some sort of approval structure, takes sort of action, and I think that's ultimately what's missing. Everyone likes to talk a good talk, and that's good if you want to just talk to an advertiser and get a sponsorship removed, but that isn't good if you want to like go raise money to hire a lawyer and fight a legal case against, I don't know, Anita Sarkeesian.
Which is a horrible idea, really. Lawyers, I think. I mean, if there's the only time
We're
we
gonna
need
have
to
to.
hire lawyers is if something has gone disastrously wrong.
We're gonna have to if we're going to take some of these people down. Some of these people are going to have to be taken down in
I don't think we're going to be able
court.
to
Well,
personally take anyone to court.
On
Is it,
the topic of networks, sorry, hello, good evening.
Carry on. Yay!
On the topic of interest, networks, one of the conundrums I've seen about the Twitter network, and it's all aflame today again because there's a fight between two prominent people. It's bullshit, it's completely irrelevant, and it's nonsense. The purpose of having the networks, like in Facebook, there were 3 big Facebook groups. I know Miyaojisa, who I respect despite things that have happened, has also shut down that group recently, and she's opened up a new one, which is re-adding people one by one to see how many people were active. That's her goal. The purpose of networks, in my view, is it's a decentralized network. There are many spokes on the wheel. There is Kotaku in Action, there's Vote, there's the 8chan forums and threads. There are the mega threads on 2 or 3 large forums, which surprisingly persist, even the GameSpot one, despite a bug, as it was labeled yesterday, trying to delete Otto. There are various branches of the Twitter network with different perspectives. What's good about that network, and what's possibly missing, is some kind of networks coordination to different spokes. And it does happen. One of the good things about the Ultras group is it very quickly receives information and gets dumped to the Ultras group. The problem is Facebook isn't the best forum. We know that. It's okay. You know,
Yeah.
the thing which is the most outrageous goes to the top, or the most funny.
Yes.
Which makes things difficult to organize. But the strength in the network is that when it comes to something like lawyering, it's a bit tricky. And you're right to say it. You know, I think if one of our opponents attempted to sue someone in Gamergate for gamergating, it would be very easy for those people to get funding for their legal costs.
Yeah.
The example would be Erin Gagioni. Erin Gagioni is not a Gamergate person. He is actually a man. He's a Goonie Manbeard SJW who is
That's a very sad
he's not
life.
the worst person in the world, but yeah, he's an SJW in the polite way. And still, Gamergate funded his legal fees because of the damage and the fact that we wanted to hear his side of the story, and that's still an issue. Myself, I was happy enough to put my hand in my pocket, give him some money, the same as I have with most Gamergate causes. So I imagine if, like, say, they decided, you know, even though I'm having a small conversation with Margaret Gilroy and isn't friendly, if someone tried to sue her, I'd put my hand in my pocket and give her $500, whatever the hell it is, just to make sure it's not an issue. And that's the strength of having all the spokes. And there is a point of all of those spokes need a degree of a kind of... There is always a cabal of key users, whether we like it or not. We can't say, oh, there's no cabals. There's obviously cabals. There are groups of people who happen to share many common points of reference and interest with other groups of people on the topic of ethics in game journalism or issues of politics. And those key cartels, for lack of a better term, because I don't have a better term for it, who are really kind of organizing each group, do need to communicate and not pick fights with each other to help these kind of issues, which are important, get to the top of everyone's attention, and to help make action coordinated. The recent one which worked best was actually the GamerRanks Google Ads pool, which, because it was a very quiet time, people weren't being stupid enough to fight with each other in the center of the network. That message went around all the Facebook groups, Kotaku in Action, the Twitter feeds, the 8chan networks, the Skype groups, all of these things, the Secret Illuminati Council, a lot of it, and everyone acted on it because there was nothing else going on, and the result was fairly decisive. And we don't do enough of that, actually.
Yeah.
There's often, because we dislike e-celebs, do we? I don't know, I think we actually have a love-hate relationship with e-celebs, but because we like to target
there's only a small portion of Gamergate that seem to keep popping at them, and I think it's the same people.
It is. It's an ego issue. It's a lot of these guys from the team. I don't really care about them, to be honest. I just, whatever. But the people want to take them seriously. I recognise they've done good things for Gamergate, and many of them are pretty decent too. So it's you don't want to tar them with a brush, but that there is this mentality of kind of haranguing people who have a certain number of followers. The only one that gets away without getting it is Sargon because he's so balanced, which is nice. But really, we do need to accept that our celebs, to a point, are not the devil if they ever get something wrong, and we do not accept that, and that is a problem on our part.
Well, I mean, yeah, these people are amateur investigators and news journalists. In a way, they have no real formal training or anything like this. I mean, I think they
but they're very good.
Oh yeah, it's amazing. I mean, citizen journalism, it's apparently it works, you know. So,
well, let's also think about things. You're right in what you say. They don't have formal training, but let's also be fairly brutal. I don't have formal training in journalism. I saw Fart, who doesn't have formal training in journalism, tweeting randomly about Kim Pallister, the Intel director of content. I went and dug out the fact that he had all the relationships with Kate Edwards and all these people. I didn't do it because I knew that it was a good or bad thing. I didn't do it because the person was a enemy of Gamergate. I didn't actually know that when I started. I did it because there was a name and no one responded to it. And that actually turned up quite a lot of shit. And we haven't even acted on that yet. We're still so far behind.
We are.
Digging up stupid shit on like people like, say, I don't know,
Harper.
Ralph Retort, or
Oh yeah,
we don't like fart now, let's annoy fart. Yeah, it's just childish. And sometimes it's better to have the devil you know than the devil you don't. And I don't think our e-celebs are anywhere near as bad or having any kind of negative influence on games or politics like our opponents are. That's a very important point. They are better than the opposition. The world is not black and white. People exist in shades of grey.
Yeah. And you've got to show a certain basic level of loyalty to your own side, really, haven't you? And I mean, when the upshot of these investigations causes a lot of damage and a lot of splits, then it's lunatic for us to continue to tolerate people doing this in the Gamergate thing. I mean, and when I say not tolerating it, I mean when we see this stuff coming up from people, just turn around and say to them, no, I'm really not interested. Take it away. You go and tell somebody else about what someone's done. It's the only way it really disinterest rather than policing them. Dear viewers. Sorry, I've rather broken up the conversation there again, haven't I?
No.
Yeah, but, you know. I get your feeling there. People need to give people a bit of breathing room. And they've got to not go on the whole, I'm going to smash everyone that does anything wrong. How about they actually get their facts straight and give people a chance to apologise first, or say, hey, that's bullshit.
Well, maybe
if Ralph makes an unsatisfactory tweet about something and someone says it's transphobic, if 2 minutes later Ralph deletes the tweet, get a fucking grip. He obviously realised he was incorrect.
Yeah.
You know, whatever the fuck it is. You know, if Xander makes a tweet and you don't agree with it, say, I don't agree with it, that's offensive. If that's your feeling on the matter, your feeling isn't wrong, your facts aren't wrong. If he decides to be an asshole about it, it's everywhere in your right to block the guy, mute him, say, yeah, I'm not following this guy, I've made that decision, just be fair about it. Say, yeah, peace to the guy, that's it. But you cannot live in a world where any kind of slip-up is instantly executionable.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, that execution is going to blow back in the person that does it.
Yeah. It will. I think it's going to. I think it kind of already has. From what I've heard from other people, they're all sort of siding with Ralph and saying, yeah, this is rubbish. This is just, we don't need these people doing this. It's happened too many times and everyone's seen the pattern. That's what I think.
I think the problem is we just don't have a target right now, and I hate to say this, but we're kind of doing what anti-Gamergate's doing. It's like we're starting to implode on ourselves because we don't have anything to aim for. And I think this is where the idea of having that central group with this discussion pointing something might actually help with that. You know.
Yeah, the centralized group will definitely keep the infighting at least private. Like, if there are a lot of arguments between, like, the groups and stuff, which we've been seeing more of a little more lately, like a centralized area, like on whatever platform, Skype or whatever, where we discuss these things, we'll at least keep it private.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, there's a lot of people jumping in to take sides. For fuck's sake, grow up. We aren't in the business of jumping in to take sides because someone's your friend and someone isn't. Let two adults solve their fucking problems and disagreements like adults. They don't need 20 people v10 in the Erin Brockovich lawyer way, just it's like children. Like, come on, get a grip. If I saw people fighting in the chat, I might let the moderator of the chat shut them up. I'm not going to go in and go, oh yeah, I'm going to take your side and fight them. That's not good for anyone. It just makes me the asshole.
Yeah, and I think this whole, like...
Civil debate becomes a smackdown.
Yeah, this whole protecting your friends kind of thing and going after and doing things because your friend was attacked, you're going to attack this person and things like this is exactly what got the whole SJW and the antis and stuff like this and the deep bang with us to begin with. Like, they were doing this, why the heck are we doing this now? I mean, we are fighting them. We shouldn't be doing the same stuff that they do.
No, good point. Yeah, good point. I mean, I do have to say I am supporting Ralph in this.
Yeah,
Categorically.
I am supporting Ralph too.
Yeah, same.
I think what, in terms of setting goals and so forth, what you don't need is a central council and private groups, because if you say that, then you automatically make it difficult to create mechanisms of accountability.
Yeah.
That's that's the Game Journal Pros, where everyone got together and said, okay, these are the topics we are going to talk about. No one's going to know how we got there. They're just going to see the end result, and there's no accountability. So you need mechanisms, if you're going to do that, to say, okay, well, we had this private chat, but we want you to know how we did it, and you have the ability to either reject or accept it. And once you do that, suddenly that council loses all power.
Yeah.
You see, that's
Well-
exactly the opposite, really, of where I was thinking to begin with. Because what I had in mind, at least, was the idea that each group would come up with their own ideas and come up with their own things to do. For instance, like the Ultras today would come up and say, oh yeah, we need to concentrate on the IGDA. While Kotaku Action is saying, oh no, we need to concentrate on Lee Alexander. And they would be discussing this between themselves like they normally do to begin with. And that person that was elected from that group, and bear in mind, whenever I say that person from that group, it is a short tendency, at least in my eyes. No one person should be in that position for too long. But with that in mind, just carrying on. Because
Why not? Why not, instead of bogging ourselves down in bureaucracy, why don't the people who say, I want to go investigate the IGDA, get support to go do that themselves? And then the person who doesn't want to do that but focus, I don't know, on
There should be a nice selection of events and sports for everyone to enjoy, yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
That's exactly where I was going with it, to be fairly honest with you. When I said like every group goes and discusses what they want to do and everything else, then the person from that group goes over and relays that information to the other group, to the other representative of the other groups, where they then relay to the other people. So like, let's say Ian here is a lawyer, for instance, or a private investigator, let's put it like that, and someone like Jesus is he wants to investigate Lee Alexander, like we just used as an example right now. And he is in Kotaku in Action, Ian is in Ultras. They have no correlation to each other, so they wouldn't be able to work together in a sense. But if this then brings a proposal to Kotaku in Action, and his representative comes over to this conversation, to this group of people, I'm not going to even name this council anymore, because that name nomenclature is just causing problems in here. But they then bring to this place, and that information is then related back to the Ultras, where Ian, being the private investigator, takes interest in that particular thing and goes on to help that particular project. You know what I'm talking about.
So
what is the term of representation? Who, if I was going to go to the Kotaku in Action with some information about Hot Wheels, what would I be representing? Because when you say representing, at least in the United States sense, you're talking an indirect person who carries on the will of a group of constituency.
That would be pretty much exactly what I had in mind, at least, is as soon as you open a thread on Kotaku in Action, or using your example right now, then your group would normally talk about it like they normally do, like we have discussions about things all day. And as soon as enough people in there are saying, yeah, this is something that we should do, and they get down and discuss exactly what they think is the best approach on their eyes, at least on that group, then that person that is representing that group, okay, would get that information that the group itself discussed and relay to the other groups. That's where I at least see my eyes as a representative in this specific case.
If
So
that's the
So
case,
essentially,
go ahead.
he's
Sorry.
kind of like a messenger. It's like you kind of like we decide things or discuss things, then we hand it off to this representative. Then he goes over there and he talks about it over there, and then they put their ideas in on it, and then he brings it back to us. It's kind of like a messenger in a way.
it's like information network trading, like a student council, like in high school, where each class representative goes and talks about what each class is doing for a project. I hate using school as an example, but each person says what they're going on, and they share that information back to the other class and go, well, these guys are doing this. I don't know if they need help. They need help, so if you guys want to go and help them out with it, like that kind of like information exchange kind of thing. And
I think you just nailed it pretty much, because as much as infantile as you may seem, this is exactly what I think, at least in my eyes, we need. You know what I mean? Is we need that kind of interaction between the groups to actually be able to drag the skill from one group to the other group and combine the strengths, really.
I think that's a good idea, but with one caveat. The idea of a messenger or a representative often makes this a game of telephone where, you know, if the messenger has a personal thing against one thing that someone said in the original community, they don't translate that into their message. So why not, instead of messengers, direct representation? Encourage everyone to go on not only on ultras, but on all the Facebook groups. Yeah, direct representation instead of indirect representation.
To be honest, like, I see your point, but at the same time, I just don't really particularly believe that it would work. In a sense, I think it would just dilute the groups itself, the focus of that one specific group, and the minds of that group itself. For instance, like, I'm using ultras in here because, you know, whatever. They pretty much go for the throat kind of thing, and I think that's their biggest strength. And if you were to bring in a whole bunch of neutrals and stuff like this, and a whole bunch of pussies into it, that would just bring down the group itself. I'm just.
I don't know.
Is any single person a singular citizen, so to say, of one of these groups? Like, I'm on Twitter, I'm on at least 2 Facebook groups. I also have a Kotaku in Action account. I mean, I'm all those places. So this idea that, you know, you talk with a single group and that's where you belong, it's just a bunch of paperwork and bureaucracy that we don't need.
No, that is exactly. People like you, actually, that participate in more than one group, are the exact reason why I thought these kind of things could work, because as soon as you get that one specific message, you're going to relay the information to the other group itself. When the information hits the other group, because you are on the group that you originated from, you know exactly what they were talking about and what foot they left the things on. So you can cut the bullshit as soon as you see the thing in the other group being posted in there, and it's not what you guys were discussing, then you can call out the bullshit, and that whole thing gets scraped. You know, like, we can weed out the bad ones straight from the beginning.
And that's what that's sort of my point with the idea of that indirect representation doesn't really work. Everyone should be doing that. So yeah, someone can, like, let's say I want to bring a court case up, so I can go to the ultras and say, hey, can we discuss this? And then we discuss it. And then, you know, I go over to Kotaku in Action. I really largely expect to see the same people. I would ideally like to see the same people in that discussion as well, from ultras as well as people from Kotaku in Action there as well, to also add points that maybe the ultras missed.
I get what. I get where you're coming from, Robert, and I think you have valid points and concerns. Like, I understand where your company comes from, because what's to stop from one person going to 5 different groups and, you know, whatever, but everyone's just speaking in general. But the thing is, that's kind of what we have right now with Twitter, and it seems I mean, it used to be great in the beginning, but lately it seems like I hate to use the word lacking, but it's
The
not
issue
what it
with
used to be.
the
It's
It
issue
would
with
be nice if we
the
had a
issue
really
with
good
frame.
conglomeration place, but
the
it
issue
would be
with
very
Twitter.
hard to set up that sort of place to be effective and also popular.
The issue with Twitter is that there's no effective cross communication mechanism. You know, you can reply directly to people, but you know, it's very difficult to communicate because everything can become its own thread, and everything is its own isolated thread, unlike Facebook, where you see just basically a wall of threads.
Yeah.
So it's the issue with Twitter isn't that you know, you can post that everyone's posting similar things or posting it on like 5 different forums, including it. It's we just need to find a forum that is
That you can fight a
structured.
war from.
Yeah, that's structured correctly for what we need.
Mm.
So maybe not an actual forum website, like a website with a forum built in it, you know. And we have our subtopics. Like anytime someone has
Yeah.
an idea for a project, we post that topic, and people can just jump on that project, you know, and like
So
just
that's
keep
the-
spreading the word out to the other groups. You know,
It's not to be a pretty large site, but it would be great if we could do it. But it's just like, you know, to have a forum that big does take quite a bit of upkeep. So
It's
I'm going
be
to
a
agree with
battleship.
you. There should be it would be valuable to getting shit done to have a central forum which is not just somewhere you can shitpost.
Mm.
Simply a working space.
Yeah.
And not even for personal talk. Say, okay, you've got Twitter, you've got this. Here is a forum which only purpose is to do shit on.
Yeah, and to share stuff out of. You know, it must have weapons, as it were. We're going to need full ways to share everything to different networks.
And not just 8chan. 8chan's great, and people have been putting a lot of stuff up there. But
But it's
something
anonymous.
that is
We need-
just organized, functional. 8chan's very hard to browse, you know. You can get stuff out of it, but you've got to push all the right buttons. Yeah, that's why chans are always so popular. You could put fucking gore on the top 5 posts all the time just to keep people out of your report. But they do need something that's actually a functional public repository of knowledge that people keep building and refining.
We can't have it be anonymous. I know people like anonymity, and I know it's a good thing in some cases. But I do, but it causes problems where suddenly you are not as transparent. I do think that a traditional style forum, which is very easily set up, would actually be a very good idea because it's a way to
I mean, I don't like the
control it.
Arguably, there is an argument that the Gamergate wiki is a pretty good resource for that because it's usable, you know? You can store references, you can control the information, you can see every edit people make, you can revert them all. I don't know if people are that comfortable using wikis, but, you know, that might be an option. Which exists.
This is the big problem: education and uptake. Getting the people there, and then getting them learning how to use the site to organise their stuff effectively. If people aren't that interested and can't use it easily, they will go straight away, and it'll utterly fail and be a big.
The forums are a lot more dynamic and a lot easier to use than, say, like a wiki. If you're using a wiki in that way.
And they work better. They actually encourage slower postings, unlike Facebook, where you need to think through and reason your arguments. So I think that's another benefit as well.
You see, I think Ian's point in there of getting people to actually go to these specific forums and everything else that we're talking about here is exactly what led me to think about those kind of things, is because people would just not go. And if you get them away from where they are comfortable with, right now we have such a large amount of people that would just leave and just stop altogether because you took away their home, kind of thing, you know. And why should I, for instance, I'm in Ultras, why should I go to somewhere else? Like,
They'll
I'm
just get
comfortable
lost.
there.
They'll
you
get
know.
lost somewhere in GG, and then go off and play some stuff on Steam and forget about everything.
Exactly. And this is exactly what I thought, that this kind of things with a kind of a messengers group and stuff like this would be ideal, because those kind of places would then, whenever a thread becomes one of them messenger threads and things like this, is a place that people know, okay, no shit posting here, we are actually going to do
Working
something
in
right
here.
now.
Yeah.
We can have a section for shit posting, but it just can't be like meshed in with the normal thing.
I wouldn't be able to live without shit
No.
posting, to be fairly honest with you. I love
We
that
have
shit.
a big public area, and then we have private areas off that. Or not private, but some sort of quiet areas, private areas, different levels.
Off-topic areas.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
think
there's
the
one
word private
very
in there
public
is wrong,
area where you
but-
can broadcast to everyone.
and I think a forum that everyone can access, from Kotaku in Action and Ultras. I mean, these places
Would
aren't
actually be
exclusive.
quite good.
Steam would be good for like gaming, for like
Yeah.
for automated shitposting, but not for planning.
We know that they wouldn't stop us writing posts about stuff, because they're not like that. They can't really ban us because we've all paid to be there. We're all there anyway, so there's not the big uptake problem. There's all sorts of different things you can do with Steam. We can have groups there, we can have individual profiles. You can build up subjects and topics and that kind of thing about games. And I mean, if we picked a game like Vivian James or something, we could probably talk about GG subjects on that without it being off topic and pestering the the moderators. But that's just something that pops out of my head. I haven't thought any of that through.
The Steam
Yeah, this
group
is-
would be nice, but it's kind of hard to like feel like there's still going to be shit posting in that Steam group by some people. And is it possible to filter like different areas, like an area in that to shit post and an area in that
You
to
can't
actually
actually
talk about
swear on
Gamergate?
Steam. You can't swear on Steam. It just changes it into love hearts.
Well, you know what I mean.
Yeah, yeah. And there's not so much stuff for photographs. All that's quite controlled. And videos, I think that it's difficult to get them in and out and stuff. So it might not be so good actually. I withdraw that idea now I think about it.
But there's things like Google Tools are extremely good, I think, for in terms of planning. The
Google
only
Plus.
issue,
Yeah, and Google.
yeah,
too.
Google Plus, Google Docs, all that. The only issue is transparency. There's not much transparency with the Google system at all.
Hmm.
It's all in a
I think
lot of it's
not only
anonymous.
transparency. The other problem with like having something like Google Docs or things like this would be, well, for a start, if we're doing something like this, it cannot be completely private. Otherwise, we're just another game journals pros. You know, it has to be
Yeah.
something that anyone can access. And as soon as you start anyone can access kind of things, especially with something that you're going to be downloading into your computer, like a Google Docs kind of thing, it's
Yeah.
very easy for a mole of like Gazi or something like this to just go there, put a fucking virus or some sort of shit or any type of like spyware or some sort of things into one of the documents in there and just have it on your computer. And like, I'm sorry, I know this is a bit tinfoil hatchery kind of thing, but I've done
No,
stuff
no,
like this in the
no.
past.
No, you're right.
No.
No, those are real. Those are definitely real concerns.
Well,
Yeah.
you can't put like a virus on a Google Doc. You can upload that, but you can also easily take that down. And if we're going for privacy, well, this is the internet, so they're bound to find anything we say, and that's actually a good thing.
I think we need
I
for
love
transparency.
Sorry, the whole point of like is I want them to know. I want them to know we're coming for them. The whole like I think my initial points in there with the lawsuits and everything else. I know they have more money than us. I know they have better connections and things like this. I don't expect us to win it. What I expect from lawsuits and things like this, and is the exact same thing I want from them to knowing that we are coming for them, is to get them stressed out, get them shaky. They will do dodgy things. Like as soon as you get someone scared, they will start acting a bit hastily. They would do something that is gonna endanger them. I'm not saying physically endangering here, just to make it very clear. I'm just saying they are gonna fuck up, and as soon as they fuck up, we are there to prey on them. And by bringing lawsuits and things like this, just imagine the media coverage that we could get. Oh, this group of people, Gamergate, is suing them, and as soon as you bring a court case into the prospect, they can't just turn around and give one-sided coverage to it. They will actually, like, there will be other networks. Like, I know no one likes Fox and things like this, but there will be networks like Fox that will be saying, hey, you know what, we actually need to do a coverage on this, and they will present our side for the first time ever. So the networks will be forced to do it.
InfoWars will, PJ Media, Andrew Clavin, Bill Whittle, but that'll be about it.
Yeah, but as soon as you start bringing the main media, the mainstream media, into the kids, it's because you just brought it. You brought it to the biggest boy club. You know, you are now suing. There is actual real life repercussions to things that are happening. So they are gonna give us the light of day, even if a little bit biased. Still, I don't give a damn. At least more people are gonna be listening to what is actually going on from our point of view for once.
But what instead of just doing legal aspect of it, why don't we try doing education as well? Like going to like conventions, anime conventions, comic conventions, video game conventions, and talking about Gamergate. I'm not saying to like educate them like, oh, this is why you should join Gamergate. This is what we're about, and this is what we stand on, and that's pretty much it. You know, just passing little flyers, and that's it.
Yeah,
I mean,
Gamergate panels everywhere.
I really like the whole convention thing, but to be fairly honest with you, at least from my experience in conventions and things like that, it is pretty much what you see with things like GDC and the other conventions run by Dagger and things like that around the UK, is that they are in bed with them. They will not stand for us giving us the stage to talk. They will silence us. They will silence us a lot faster than things the other websites did. You know, they will not tolerate us. They will not give us the space. That is the point. Because want it or not, as soon as we are already starting to uncover how corrupt the conventions are and how much embedded they are with them, they don't want us looking into them. They don't want to be giving us a speaker. Come on, I know. This sounds like a lot of tinfoil hatchery kind of thing.
No, you're right.
I'm a paranoid bastard, but from experience, that's
but we don't have to use their conventions, do we? We can do our own.
We have capital.
Yeah, to do our own conventions. Like I used to work back in the day before I moved to the UK. I used to work in events and things like that, like music events mainly, and we've done a few conventions. Okay, now I'm not saying that I want to do this. Let me just put it right there, because my point exactly is we don't have the capital to do it. It's just how are we gonna find the capital to do something like this?
I'm talking very, very small. I'm talking a tiny little meetup convention. Well, not a tiny meetup, a huge meetup. But like, as conventions go, a minuscule thing. Maybe like 100, 150 people out of all.
I see your
That would
point.
still be a big meetup.
Yeah, I see your point of this, but at the same time, couldn't that just be time better put somewhere else? I mean, we all getting together and meeting 100 people, getting
you see, the thing is, you use that like with say to pick something out of the air, the Detroit Men's Rights Conference. There was only a few hundred people there, but there was enough to encourage media to come and have a go at them, and there was enough to allow media to report normally about it, and to get a lot of talks done and stuff done on YouTube and people clapping and some visual sign that Gamergate is actually a real thing. And that is all very useful, and it was very useful for the men's rights movement, even though they've had a lot of bad press from it. Like, they generated a lot of positive press as well. They just generated lots of press from it. It was worthwhile, it was cheap, and they are worth doing. It is a notable political step. It's a standard thing.
Honestly, if you want to do something like that. I do like the idea of something physical, something in the real world, but also do a full-on webinar series. Like,
Oh yeah.
though, though that has the most amount of um, applicability because you don't have to have people traveling from all over the world. They can get onto the same, they can get onto
Yeah.
the same forums. You can invite you can invite the
Skype speakers.
Skype speakers. You can do,
Yeah.
and you can get panel discussions close to what maybe a so-called council would be like, except for they can only discuss.
Yeah. Yeah. And people can listen and sort of upvote them around the internet and stuff, and it might have an influence on the conference generally, but nothing could be agreed or ironed out or set in stone of one of these things. But like it would allow people to later on all know the issues and all be able to direct sensibly or direct their interests sensibly, or we'd all be in the same direction. Sort
And
of.
do things like have networks of like Reddit.
Yeah.
What are those asking things?
Yeah. Ask me anything.
Yeah,
AMAs. Yeah. We
do
could have
series of
that,
those.
and we could generate a lot of content from these things because we'd be filming it all, putting it online. It would be sitting there ad infinitum. It would work. People could do little podcasts from their just phones and that kind of thing. Just a couple of people sitting next to each other in a bar type business.
This is actually just open up a little bit of an idea, really, and actually I like the whole prospect if we can do something like this, but in order to be able to bring the actual people in, because let's face it, like, you get the people that come to streams, you get the people that go into the forums and stuff like this, but you get a lot of us that just are part of a group, will never go there and stuff like this, or just like say, oh yeah, I support gaming group. Really, I'm more interested in playing games. Like, let's face it, I go for months on end, like playing a game, and then I'll like, yeah, I'll go back and see what's going on and things like this. And most of the people, like, I would say a great part of it at least, is exactly like that. We're interested in gaming. So if you want to do something like this, we need to be able to draw the interest of the people as well. And a great way to be getting around to it would be if we could actually get developers to actually be exposing their games like they would be doing at GDC, for instance, on something like this. Go live on us with camera and talk about the game in between talking about Gamergate and things like that.
I mean, PAX started really small, and I mean they had gaming tournaments like tabletops and like stuff like that. We can just add that into the flair. That's I mean mixed in, and I mean I'm saying now we're not gonna be giant the first time we do if we should do this. But I mean, it's a slow and steady kind of thing. It's not just like instant.
It would be, yeah. I mean, we don't even have to worry about where we take it. It doesn't have to become a full-on games conference, although it probably will. If you start these things, they grow. Just for it to have functionality to Gamergate would be enough. But I do love the idea of making it attractive in other ways by adding game designers. Certainly we will have to have it in a place with a great deal of connectivity. Hopefully even we could get an internet cafe that must have some sort of bar.
And honestly, there's an issue where one reason why conventions don't want Gamergate is because there's a lot of people who are sick of the entire thing, of both aggros and GGers. They just want a game. They just want to go to conventions and enjoy themselves. They aren't interested in the debate. So if we do go the convention route, it's going to be hard to get people interested in a convention that is explicitly just GG.
Yeah.
You need
explicitly pro GG, basically.
Well, it shouldn't even be pro GG. If you
but
ask
it's our
me.
brand. We can't do anything about that. Initially, it is going to be pro GG. Later, it can turn into something. else. I mean, there's not the problem. We can alter the brand with something new, but you can't really go into it completely not being GG. You see what I mean? It would have
No,
no
but I think
credibility.
what we can do, however, is have you neutral. I've I've posted this in a lot of places actually. The idea of a convention holding a more or less a neutral opinion, but open, allowing as much discussion as possible. So you have like $10 little group discussions that people can participate in, and then you can have different booths, and you host speakers from both sides, do these sorts of things, actually allow the discussion to happen, and allow and
Yeah.
and
And once we get it online, then it's a lot more official than it was.
But
yeah.
the thing is, will the opposite side join on this though? Because we've seen like that we have a hard time usually just getting them on streams. How we're gonna actually get them to go to an actual convention and have like a dialogue
Oh,
with
if they
Well,
How
their
big
choice.
are the opposite side? I would approximate that the opposite side are around about a sixth of the size.
Mm.
I'm not
Well, the
particularly
offer
worried.
is there.
The
and to
strength
me
of
that's
networks
important.
is driven by their magnitude. The strength of the network for telephone companies is n times n minus 1 over 2. Much smaller networks are extraordinarily less valuable than larger ones.
Mm. Yeah. I mean, we're a big old advertising hype machine, aren't we? We can trend things on Twitter at will. It's ridiculous. They have to function us out of their equations just to see what's trending because we make so much noise. It's glorious.
Yeah.
It is.
we are Legion.
Yeah, we are Legion, and we use it for good. We don't exploit it at all. I mean, many people have noticed this. It's not an old idea. People have said, we could just we could become an advertising agency. And lots of people have realised this, and everyone said, yeah, but no, we're doing DD. But we do have this power, and we should never forget it. I'll let you guys get on quickly. I'm going to grab some cigarettes.
And
Sure.
honestly, I mean, with my idea, it would, like someone said, we extend the invitation if they want to come. They don't, they if they don't respond, they don't respond. They don't get and they don't get the, the free publicity. We probably could, however, get neutrals on that were able to express at least some of their viewpoints in a moderate way for them.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Imagine
on
getting
that.
like
Yeah.
Imagine like getting Total Biscuit or Mark Kern on to talk, or even people like Lena Kay, or things like that.
Yeah, I kind of doubt Total Biscuit would be for it, but that's a ambitious idea for sure.
You see, that's actually, I think you guys are hitting right in the nail in there. The whole point of like bringing the whole thing to more neutral ground and bringing it to the real world is what would bring the antis into it, and is pretty much at least what I see. I'm trying to put myself in their shoes, and honestly, I just don't see why. If I was one of them, I would ever join a live stream with someone that I perceive to be evil or anything like that, or someone that is actively trying to hurt my friends. Because wanted or not, we kind of are. We're trying to hurt their corruption network, yeah, and that hurts their livelihood. So we are hurting them. There's no discussion about that. Like, at least in my eyes, I'm out to hurt them financially as much as I can because they are corrupt as fuck.
They're trying to save jobs. So if you're going to, if your goal is to get Brianna Wu and Anita Sarkeesian to come speak at a conference that has pro Gamergaters, that's not going to happen because that's a direct issue that might affect their jobs. But if you want to get neutrals on that are interested in the discussion, who see both sides and can present both sides, that's honestly more worthy than having Anita Sarkeesian play victim in a ridiculous fashion in any case.
Yeah, there's definitely a reason Anita's never stepped up to try and defend her point. That's for sure.
Mm.
You say, just call me a little bit of a dreamer here and tell me to shut up and everything else. But at least from what I see and the way I see this developing is we get developers, we get the publishers and things like this involved because, like Ian just pointed out, we can get things trending on Twitter at will. We have a voice that collectively it's huge. Okay, it might not get around. It might not get anyone else to speak to us about the things that we actually want to talk about, but we get things trending. We are setting the trends, and they see that we are the ones buying the games. So I see publishers and developers and things like this wanting to come into something like this. Now, if we organize, let's say, a convention with like some tournaments and stuff like this, and bring the developers into it, and they will see, oh, free publicity from that group that gets from freaking things trending on Twitter every day. They will be like, yeah, well, it's free, let's go into it. And as soon as you start getting like companies into it, then they basically have to come to defend themselves. You say we are going to be talking about like these issues, this and that in there as well. They are, and we are extending the invitation publicly to them. They will have to come to talk to us. They will like. Is just too much. Because if they don't show up, then we are speaking to the developers and the media. Like, well, not the media, but you know where I meant. Like to the developers.
Yeah, we're showing a very unified front there, and
yeah,
we can also show that the not your shield aspect very clearly as well.
The only issue with that is if developers feel any sort of idea that they're going to get backlash for appearing at all. I mean, Peanut Butter Gamer just got flogged on Twitter for even appearing with Total Biscuit. So
yeah, but see where I'm coming from. Like, if I don't know, like I don't really have the link in here anymore. Like I've just formatted my computer yesterday. But there were developers coming out and saying that they won't get rid of the media, that the media is bad for them, and they don't gain anything from it. And surely, from a business point of view, if you are a major publisher, or even a small publisher, or a small developer of some sort, you see that the media as it is right now is not benefiting you. I mean, you want to make that door alive. You don't want people talking about how sexist your game is. You want people talking about how fucking awesome your game is.
Yeah.
You want people to saying, yeah, this game is good. It's a good competition. It's a good tournament game. Look at this, and they would be willing. Companies like this would see the benefit of actually advertising, if you will, with us. No, I'm not saying exchange of money here because I just think that would be wrong.
But they very might well support the Patreon that was funding it.
Yeah, they will come because they will see the benefit from getting rid of the media without actually having to deliver the blow themselves. But they will see the prospect of coming into something like this would be something that would be advantageous for them without actually bringing them the backlash, because want it or not, they will be interacting with the customers themselves, and that's what most companies want nowadays. I mean, just look at Comic-Con for once. Like, every company wants to get into Comic-Con because they're dealing with the customers themselves.
So it's giving them the option of kind of a safe war on the media. Like, if they have a problem with the media, then they have us, and any backlash that they get from the problem would kind of like fall towards us, and we can handle that. We don't lose any like money or supporters from that because,
Yeah. We'll be Vietnam.
Yeah, and it's not only that they won't lose anything, they have a lot to gain, because their game is going to sell either way. Like, let's say Dead or Alive gets a new game released this year or something like this. I'm just using them as an example because of the recent article. But if they release a new title this year, their title is going to sell how much it's going to sell. It doesn't matter. It's going to sell. Now, if they come to us, they're going to get a whole bunch of people that were not initially going to buy their game to buy their game just because they are supporting our event, Gamergate event of some sort,
Yeah.
So it will not just be a safe war for them to wage. It will be a profitable war for them to wage, if you see where I'm coming from. And that's where you draw this from. Because as soon as we start taking the developers themselves, and I truly believe that this is where Gamergate has gone wrong. We went after the advertisers. That was a good thing, but we should have gone after the games themselves. You know, as soon as we take the games away from the media, as soon as the developers and the publishers see that they don't need the media, that they can come to like the public itself, to Gamergate, to like talk to the customers, like YouTube, for instance. You know, like the Let's Play community. Come on, like how much sales do they get from those kind of things? They already start picking up that mainstream media, like gaming journalism and stuff like this, is not bringing any cash, and is just hurting them more than anything else.
It's
So
getting to the point. It's getting to the point where they can, they can do that is the trick. Right now, I don't think that if we were to tomorrow, organize some kind of some kind of event, that developers would be springing to get their places, to get a booth, because there isn't we still lack the climate to get developers in. I mean, Mark Kern was the only one, and he has like tons of years of experience where he can do this, because no matter what, he's probably going to still sell games because gamers want good games.
He's bulletproof. He knows what he makes the best games. It's bulletproof. You know.
Yeah, I see your point, but this is exactly why I like your point of this being a neutral thing as opposed to a pro-Gamergate thing. It's just a neutral event that happens to be allowing the talk of Gamergate and be inviting the debate.
Right.
You know.
And it needs to come, and the people who then need to organize such an event couldn't be Gamergate, because that's immediately we
immediately suffer the genetic fallacy there, don't we? That because it's created by Gamergate, this is a meeting of a hate group and not a games conference at all. That's how they.
Well, and it's not, that's a contrast right there. If we support Gamergate and we're trying to set up a neutral event, that's like a feminist organization trying to set up a men's rights event. It's the devil's deal.
But I don't know. Gamergate's always welcome like neutral opinions and dialogue. I don't think we've ever been like, oh no, you have a different opinion, so let's get the fuck out. We
can put it as Gamergate hosting an event for gamers. We'll make no bones about that we're Gamergate.
If we're not involved with it, then what's the point of trying to do that? I mean, the way I see it is just try to promote education of what exactly is Gamergate, and slap on all that other stuff,
No, and that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying we be involved, but be involved in the central planning of such an event. You couldn't have that, because that would be because then that would become a Gamergate event, even if you tried to make it neutral.
Exactly. Then how can we ignore it? How can we organize something if we can't be involved in its organization?
Okay,
It would have to be one of the existing conventions. Is my only thought. It would have to, and they would just have to grow a spine, grow a backbone, and let Gamergate in.
But they're not going to. Is the thing.
They might.
If we can't convince one of those people to, we can.
Well, it's an uphill battle, basically.
Look, honestly, I don't see that as being a good thing, to be fairly honest, because if you're gonna force yourself into something that is already existing and is already established, how is that any different than basically them coming?
Yeah, but we're not going to force ourselves in, are we? We're going to discuss our way in and make the case that we should be allowed in, and we should be allowed to do our thing in much the same way that other people are allowed safe spaces.
Make the case that this is profitable. That's what I'd say.
And that it's profitable.
Isn't that the same thing that, for instance, Anita Sarkeesian is doing with games, to be honest? Trying to change...
Not necessarily.
Activism, that's all it is. There's nothing wrong with it.
There's a few things you should consider. I mean, one of the reasons you don't see as many devs as you might like talking about Gamergate, it's perfectly legitimate reason is they're under a lot of Do not get involved in politics. Do not get involved in marketing disputes type.
Yeah.
Agree.
They just don't talk about this, whatever. It doesn't. It's not because it's Gamergate, it's because it's drama.
And the other thing I would say is just because something's profitable doesn't mean it's bad. In fact, what we should do is make being ethical profitable.
Mm.
In fact, what we should do,
which is why I was earlier talking. If there are shades of grey here. Let's reward people who are more white than black in terms of good and evil. But we cannot be so absolutist that we don't reward incremental changes towards a better position.
And honestly, if we can present a good enough plan, I don't honestly think that if we went to a convention person and said, here's our plan, we want to force our way to a place where no one can miss us, that would be bad. But if we said we want to make a panel, say, like an optional panel that someone can or cannot can choose not to go to, and you already allow like Zoe Quinn on, so why don't we allow Lena K to also make a presentation as well?
Yeah. And we're going to have we're also going to have Mark Kern cosplaying as Kerrigan out of StarCraft.
But that's what I was saying from the beginning, that we should try to get into any convention we can, and maybe a booth or getting in a panel to discuss Gamergate.
If possible.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying there's not going to be roadblocks or anything, but if we don't try,
none of it is going to be easy. Honestly,
it's
all an uphill battle.
It'll definitely be an uphill battle, but it's definitely possible.
I mean, we could even try to, like you were saying, Robert, like have a neutral person actually try to host a panel, but still have like a Gamergate and an anti-Gamergate person, say, hey, we're actually willing to work on this, and it'll show different perspectives,
And as long as
maybe have them all three play video games together. Just check that out, It's a card game.
And as long as we can
versus Gamergate video game tourney. Let's go.
Yeah, exactly.
That would be a fucking brutal role, man.
And as long as the terms were made where it wasn't polarized to either side. If the one thing we can't afford to have is make a devil's deal for anyone where okay, you can come and participate in the conversation, but only on our terms.
Open debate, like pretty much. That's
Yeah,
that's perfectly
open
fine.
debate would be one way to do it.
Yeah, I don't think anyone from Gamergate has a problem with that. I mean,
and we could bill ourselves as having the sexiest, most uncontrolled cosplayers in all of gaming. And we could say, look, you can come here.
Now, why do I have a feeling that that's going to involve you dressed as a pig with a lot of booze inside of you?
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
Body paint.
Yeah, no, it's a big latex costume with huge nipples and everything. It's going to be fantastic.
I've got the weirdest boner right now,
You'll
actually.
recreate animal farming.
yeah, we're going to do some live theatre. Some real live action theatre for people. That'll be a draw. This is a wonderful idea. And what I love about this conversation is that it's come so far through the idea of how do we have some sort of council, and we really have explored the idea thoroughly into sort of a networks and a loose system of messengers, council, all sorts of things. We've covered really a lot of areas. I can see people wanting to come back and listen to this.
Yeah.
Excuse me 1 minute. Sorry.
I also love Robert. Robert's like that voice of reason in this group. Like he's like, okay, guys, that sounds good. Robert, and I really like your opinions, man, and your insight on this dude.
You see, Robert is exactly the kind of people that I want to talk to the most because he's just so different than me. Like his ideas are exactly the opposite, the polar opposite of what I would be going with the things, and I just love it. Because he puts me back down on my place and just says, you're full of shit, man. You're going too far. Go back to the real world.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%.
Think about it again and come up and just like figure things out. It's nice to have that other voice basically to help make decisions better. That's an important thing about Gamergate. We have all these different voices. We don't like block out those who aren't necessarily agree with us. And
No. Well, I kind of do actually, but that's more of a sort of personal thing. Oh, I've been very bad on Twitter lately. If somebody posts something and that sort of annoys me, I think, oh, fuck you. Even if you're in Gamergate, there's just bloody nudes. That is, bye. And I'll go over and block them. So because I don't want all that filth on my Twitter. You know what I mean?
It's one of the more interesting parts of the Twitter Gamergate verse. It's I don't think it's a very good response to going against censorship because it's sort of spamming exactly what they don't want. So it's like that's not going to draw many flies. You don't draw flies to vinegar. That doesn't happen.
It's just saying it's petulant, isn't it? It's just like saying, oh well, I'm going to post nudes, and that's all it is really. It's just an excuse to do what they already do.
Hang on, who was posting news? Because I'm going there, mate. I want to check it out.
Link,
go on
please.
Twitter and follow. Yeah, go on Twitter and follow. What is it like? Butts or something like that? Not Sarah Butts, but like.
Sorry.
It has butts in the nickname.
Who hasn't got butts on their nickname? By the way, what the fuck is that with the butts in the nicknames, anyways? Am I old? I just don't get it.
Well, they were supporting her at one stage. I stand with butts, wasn't it? When we were revealing all this stuff about her, and then all the stuff about dogs and children came out, and they stopped sticking I stand with butts in their names because they thought, no, that really associates me with some horrible stuff. I'm not doing that. It was hilarious. Sorry.
That's the same thing with farts. It's like there was that one interview where it's like if your vocal members go around calling themselves like farts, you're not going to get much attention from professionals.
No, it doesn't make them look like social justice warriors anymore, does it? It makes them look like kids, which is what a lot of them are. But then we're very guilty of that kind of stuff as well.
Yeah.
We get very childish.
Us?
It's all in good fun.
Outrageous.
Yes. Well, I do. Oh, but it's been going on so long, I don't really fault people if they start to act up and lose their cool a bit now at this stage. I mean, it's getting up, is it 8 months now? Hey.
We could have a child by now.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
The Gamergate babies of 2015.
Oh, we have. Sargon had a baby, and
Yeah, just make sure you hide the babies from Sarah, yeah?
He's coming for the Gamergate children. Yeah. They must not breed. Oh, that's what they fear.
Well, we're all neck-bearded virgins that live in our mom's basement. How could we possibly breed?
Yeah. Well,
I have a disclaimer. I actually still live with my parent, my mom. I won't lie, and I have a neck beard. I will say that.
Well, you're not in the basement.
Yeah, guys, we need to start thinking long term. Go get girls and start getting them pregnant.
Yes. We will build an army.
We will build a neck-beard army to take back ethics in gaming journalism.
Yes.
I'm gonna get one of those little carts that people use that can't get around, and I'm gonna have a Gamergate flag in the back with a taser going around. Yeah, that's my lethal weapon.
Oh god.
Yeah.
That will be quite the discussion, won't it? Like if this went on like 20 years, and then it's like well, we have to start outbreeding anti-Gamergate.
20 years and now the population is an entire legion of our followers. We have a Gamergate flag in a country and everything.
Good lord. Yeah.
This is sounding better and better.
The Gamergate Panthers, watch out.
Yeah. Just be everywhere.
Just beer everywhere, or farms with women on a leash and everything else, just waiting for us to plow them whenever we want. That sounds legit.
We see everything.
Yeah, people will do Google searches in the future for Sargon of Akkad, and they'll get, no, I don't want that one. I want the real one. And looking at our Sargon.
And it's like, it's like, it's the Sargon's the leader of Gamergate. It's the Sargon line of.
The real Sargon, not that idiot from history that just like ran a small tiny country. No, the one with the empire. Like, the guy who was buried under that huge pyramid. And like,
imagine somebody getting confused and writing an essay about our Sargon instead of that.
yes, like,
Dude, I'm sure it's happened. I'm sure some middle school kid looked up Argon and looked that up and did his whole research paper, like a little essay, like summary 5-paragraph essay on Sargon. I'm sure it's out there. It had to be done already.
And he
It's just like this.
mercilessly.
And then he got expelled for making an anti-feminist essay.
If that doesn't spawn a fanfic, I'm going to be mighty depressed.
Alright, viewers, the fanfic is up to you.
Oh man.
Right, so we've moved off the original topic, and that's fine. So yeah, I think you talk about anything you like, really, in terms of Gamergate.
Sorry about that.
Just general stuff. No, it's good. It's good because we had a very good long 2-hour discussion. It had a lot of good legs on that. And, there's a limit to how long you can go over the same subject and keep it interesting. Right.
I still think all this tied back to the whole idea of having somewhat organization or something. There's like all these ideas that pop up. You need. I mean, how should we proceed with that organization is the issue. But I think that all ties up with ideas that we've had now, because there's still some type of organization. We can't just hey, let's just make an event and that's it.
We should do this again, this same podcast, and focus on that aspect of it. Where would we go from here in relation to this podcast? Like, buddy them together.
On a more serious note, anyways, I mean, like, if we were to organize any event, we need to bring in some extra help. We need to talk to people who actually plan events, to actually, do a real professional job.
Yeah.
You see, that's where I think that the whole group's coming together kind of thing is a strength of ours, because we don't actually necessarily need to bring people from the outside completely. We have all the skills we need inside of Gamergate. Like, Gamergate is such a huge movement. Like, everyone's got a different job, everyone's got a different background and things like this that they have done.
Yeah, I mean, we do know people. We're bound to know conference people because we know a load of game dev people. So it is within our bounds, I'm sure it is.
And don't take this the way of like, oh yeah, we're making a little boys club or Gamergate and we're gonna keep everything inside house just like they do and stuff like this. It's not. This is we don't have the capital to do this, so how are we gonna hire companies and stuff like this that have nothing to do with us? So we just bring in the skill from the inside, It's not like anyone is going to be profiting from it necessarily. And to be fairly honest, at least in my eyes, I don't think we should at all. Well,
no.
But then again, I am not one to veto. If other people, the majority says, yeah, everyone should profit, I'm just going to go on.
Gamergate shouldn't profit, but we should allow others to do their profity thing, because presumably people try and make some sort of profit.
People need money. People need money to create content, and if we were to ever hold a convention, that would honestly be where the money would bring people in. The idea of making money for subsistence. That's exactly what. That's why most vendors show up to conventions anyways.
Yeah.
No, I think like when I said money, I meant profit really, because yeah, you have your convention, you have the events, you have all these kind of different things. They have costs associated with them, and to draw people in, you do have to have like a tournament here and there, and that's going to be worth some cash or whatever else you're gonna have. You're gonna have to hire like a warehouse of some sort to actually be holding the event on, and so on and so forth. So yeah, money is necessary for those kind of things. I just don't think any one person, particular person, or group of individuals in particular should be making a profit, be coming out in the black after said event.
They should.
So
They
the
shouldn't be.
bills should be paid
They
for.
shouldn't be lying. They shouldn't be lying, and they shouldn't be trying to deceitfully make money. But if
Well, I'll tell you what, if we're
but
raising the money
honestly,
to do this, then we can't make a profit at all. That would be absolutely unethical.
but
If you think
but
about it.
honestly, like if like someone, say someone who makes plush toys want to go and sell Vivian James plush toys at such a conference, I don't think there would be any problem with that because
Oh
they're-
yeah,
Oh, yeah, but
love
that's-
a Vivian James plush.
Make the
And actually, you know what? I would buy a plush of a sock puppet holding a sock puppet. Just gonna say that. I'd just,
as long as
I
they're
know it's
decided
really
that's
random,
holding another
sorry.
sock puppet.
And a Nita Sarkeesian puppet with a sock puppet with a sock puppet.
Yeah, and they all work. They got little robot controls, so like all their little arms move. That'd be so cool.
Yeah, and things like that. As long as people aren't lying to make money, as long as they aren't saying this is I'm making this game and I'm going to sell it at Gamergate Con 2016, and they never deliver the game. Yeah, that's going to be a problem. But if they deliver the product, why not connect to people who honestly might want to spend the money there?
well,
Oh no, yeah, that 100% I agree with. I think what I'm mostly was thinking about is like the organization of the event itself should be a non-profit kind of event, while having people being able to do things. Because at the end of the day, you want the developers, you want the publishers to be coming in, you want food stands and stuff like this. All of these things are going to be running a profit on their own, but I just don't think that the organization of the event itself should be thinking like, oh yeah, we organized this and now let's take a huge cut and become millionaires with this kind of shit.
Oh yeah, it shouldn't. The event
Yeah,
itself
yeah.
shouldn't be like trying to abscond money. But if let's say they make a profit, and then they say let's use this to make let's put this money in for next year's event, or like even to have a next year's event, they need to make some sort of profit so that there was still money in the coffers. And
Yeah, and
Yeah,
that,
so essentially we just don't want the money going to things that are either like not charity. Well, I mean the money that the thing itself makes, so many things that are like not charities and not the thing itself. You want the money to either go back into it or go to worthy causes, essentially.
exactly, yeah.
exactly. Yeah, that is 100% what I agree with as well.
like all the profit proceeds go to like breast cancer or into women's independent indie gaming development. Something like Young Capitalist.
Yeah, or just back into the company or business so that we can host a better one next year.
Yeah, that works too.
Or maybe even scholarships or paying the people who work at the conference. Those kinds of things.
Well, those are costs. Those come before we decide what to do with the other money.
Yeah, yeah, I suppose.
Anyway.
Yeah, can we just agree on one thing? If this goes forward, we do not have a ball pit. Yeah?
Dude,
You know why we wouldn't have a ball pit?
I want to see dirty diapers. Why not?
We're
Just saying,
gonna have a ball pit and we just fill it with yellow colored water and say it's the ball pit from
The bulb piss.
TumblrCon.
No,
Piss
we
pit.
need to do something more. We need to have like get like arcade machines or something like that. what? No ball pits and jumpy houses. Those are Those are juvenile.
We could have like a retro room with arcade machines set up and something like that if we had the space and the means. That'd be neat.
Actually, it's not really that hard to make a semi-arcade machine. You just have to get the framework done, and nowadays you can just get an Android device of some sort, like an Android stick, plug it in on a screen, and put the controls in there. It's kind of very easy. One of my friends has like a couple in his garage and things like that.
Yeah.
We could easily organize that.
Excuse me.
Just even make smaller versions and stick iPads in there. Chain them to the table, and then you have yourself a mini arcade.
You mean like emulation or something?
Yeah.
That works.
Of course, actual machines would be best if we could.
Just for that old school feel, retro. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I feel I should step in here and tie things together a little bit. I mean, actually, we've had a good long podcast, really. Do you want to turn it off here?
Whatever.
Excellent. I mean, you can carry on chatting in the room, but I'll just stop it going live, and that will say goodbye to our wonderful audience. And if anyone's got anything they want to shill or advertise, now will be the time.
Yeah, tits will get the fuck out, yeah?
Tits will get the fuck out. Excellent. Right. Well,
Amen.
yeah, you can run into us all if you're listening to this and you want to meet us by joining Gamergate Ultras on Facebook. I'll attempt to put the link in the low bar to this. And thank you very much for listening to us tonight. And please take on board the ideas that we've had. Yeah. And give them a think and get back to us. I mean, there's all sorts of ways you can give us feedback, either in the comments. Please like and subscribe, or to join us again on Gamergate Ultras. Okay. Anyone else? Anything to add?
I love you all. You guys are awesome, and everybody out there, keep up the good fight. That's all I gotta say.
And be ready for a party when you join GG Ultras, if you're not already in.
Yeah, be certainly ready for the party. Okay, well, thanks a lot, everyone, and we'll stop it there. Good night, all.